So we're into the driver dispersion side of things. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm not really very stringent on driver dispersion. My only real goal with driver is in terms of left to rights is we're not getting penalty shots. So that means we're not hitting out of bounds or into penalties or hazards. So that's the really important aspect. Now, to be good in terms of driver dispersion, we need to know what pattern we're hitting. So that's really where I would start off with this. I would take 20 golf balls, hit those 20 out in the range, and really see where's my pattern. Am I favoring more right side, left side? What pattern do I have more often than not? Is it more of a fade or a slice or a draw or a hook? And I definitely need to be very aware of that as I go out and play. What I don't want to have is me trying to stand up there and hit a perfectly straight drive when I know 90% of the time I hit a slice that goes left to right. When I get on the golf course, I gotta play with what I have. Now, inside this dispersion section of driving, we're going to talk the technical side of things, why we might be having slices, why we might be having hooks, etc. But right now in this section, we're talking about what you have right now and how you can make it work for you. So the very first thing I would like you to do is set up a nice setup here on the driving range for testing your driver dispersion. Now, if you're going to set that up, what that means is putting down alignment sticks. You have to know where you're aiming. That's really important in terms of driving. So what I'll do is I'll put down my alignment sticks here and get set up, get my target, and go and hit my 20 golf balls. And then I'll have a look as I look out in the range, or just even record them as I go ball by ball. If I have a launch monitor or something similar, that's fantastic. If not, just noticing where they finish relative to the target and just jotting them down can work too. So that's the first thing when we're talking about driver dispersion. I want you to actually get your pattern right now. That's really important. Then you can at least play with it, and then you can keep that ball in play. So the second thing we're going to talk about in driver dispersion is where we hit the ball on the face. Now, everybody might say, well, that seems fairly simple. Yes, it is, but we got to recognize that driver has a different technology than any other club in the bag. With this driver, we have what's called roll and bulge. So when we look at the face, we've got a rolling face out here and kind of a bulge going across here. Now, what that means is when I hit this golf ball, if I hit it in the center of the golf club, all is well, nothing changes. But if, for example, I was to hit that ball maybe an inch to the right here, that location on the face, that angle at that location is actually about 5.5 degrees to the right of where I'm aiming. So if I do hit that ball maybe an inch out of center, that is going to affect the direction that the ball flies. And then we have what's called gear effect. So because I have that roll and bulge on the face, if I do hit it out of the toe, this face twists open and creates an anti-spin that actually spins the ball back. So when I'm looking at what the golf ball does, I might get a little bit misread in terms of looking at it. Might think, okay, well, I must have been coming into out and hit a hook there. Well, that might have been the gear effect. So a really nice simple way of really establishing where you are in terms of how efficient you're hitting the ball in the middle of the face is using either spray or what we got here is face sticker. So I'm going to hit a drive here. Again, we'll just hit a little tap one, just kind of get us going here. Okay, and we'll just have a little look. Now, as we kind of look, I'll bring this a little closer to the camera. You kind of just get a look here. You can see the little imprint here. So fairly much in the middle. Now, if I bring this a little bit closer, you're going to see some numbers here in terms of percentages. So if I was to hit it maybe kind of low towards the heel, I lose about 7% of distance. Maybe towards the toe, about 3%, low 5, and high 3. So even going back to the distance thing, that is important in terms of what we want to go. What I'd like to do, very much like the dispersion or like the kind of alignment setup we had before, is maybe hitting 10, 12 shots on this and seeing where the dispersion is. Again, looking at the pattern. But if we want to be really straight in terms of what we want to do, we got to make sure that that ball is coming more out of the middle of the face. So as I work with this, whether it be spray or face tape, let's get that ball in the middle of the face. It's important for dispersion. It's also going to add distance. So it's a double win in terms of we get that ball more in the middle of the face. So one of our next strategies for looking at dispersion and helping you narrow your dispersion down is looking at the launch direction. So that's the direction that the golf ball starts in. Now we know that's going to be influenced by about 75 or 80% by where the face is aiming. But let's stay away from the technical side of things for the moment and let's look at how we can improve our own start or launch direction. So what we've done is create a little bit of a gate system here. You can see I have two alignment sticks out in front of me. Now they're very much in the line of the golf ball. So my goal really is, can I start the ball in between those two sticks? Now you'll look at that and go, okay, well that's fairly simple, and it is. But what it does give me is give me a little strategy on the golf course. So if I am facing a tee shot that I may have apprehension or anxiety about, what this does is allows me to create the same gait on the golf course. Now, obviously not using my sticks, using my imagination, but if I can kind of focus more on what this ball does in the first 10 yards, perhaps I can feel I can start it a little bit straighter. So feel like it starts in between those gates. That's not bad, it drifted off a little bit. But again, having those gates down there can just be a nice influence, a nice visual influence in terms of starting that original start direction, that very first start direction, getting that ball to start on line. So we've really covered in terms of the alignment, we've covered in terms of where we hit it in the face. Now we're starting about that launch direction. In the next video, we're going to talk about the lefts to rights and the rights to left. So why might be struggling with those patterns and what ways we can hopefully help you fix them and get that ball a little bit straighter.